This conference will now be recorded.
Well, I'm sorry, but
Yes. Yeah, but you can't see that. Across the low one, you take second. So Tom, are these ones?
Yeah.
They were over there. Yeah. So.
not bad for memory. 100
100 artists. And how many cabins?
11.
Yeah.
You plan on getting 11.
That's what I had.
They keep getting thicker.
This might be the last one this thick. Yeah.
How are you?
Hey, James, how you doing, sir? When you leaving?
Friday morning,
What you doing down there?
fishing national championship.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
Are you like a professional fisherman?
trying to.
Do you know a guy named John Cruz?
I do.
Actually grew up. I know his sister.
Oh, really?
I know him. It's been a long time. Yeah. I mean, I
10 years.
okay. Yeah. I mean, I grew up.
Legit pro.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying. That's what this one could get me.
Okay.
So, I'll work at that.
Cool.
That's right.
Well, hope you have good luck.
Around fixing my boat and all that crap
Right.
this week. I broke it Sunday, of course. At 3 o'clock.
You ever fished in a Briary Lake?
Friday.
Briary Creek?
No, I have not.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Hole, swim plate, or
Cool.
anywhere else in the city. Yeah. The
Yeah.
electric motor on the lakes. I've been to a lot of them, not all.
Yeah. And we ain't every damn seat's taken today.
Are you? Yeah, it's more people here than it was for the other one.
I know.
We get another clip. I like that. Like it take a word.
Yeah. Well, they won't.
They won't
They're too
sing.
thick. They're too thick to punch.
It's going. How are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, folks. There's a few more seats available. If you want to move to them, you're welcome to sit in the back or what have you. I just want to make you aware. Kind of every other one, I see some available seats. So please make yourself at home.
All right, it's a little after 7. Let's go ahead and get started, please. As always, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence following that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum present. All members are present tonight. We need to move to the approval of the agenda. I have had a request from Mr. Nichols to make a public comment, so I'd like to add that at the beginning before we begin the public hearings, if that's okay with everyone. Okay, we need to review the minutes from October 5th, 2022. Take a quick look through those. They're rather long. guess we should if we do the changes. Yeah. Okay, does anyone see any need to make any changes to the minutes? Okay, thank you. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. We do need to approve the agenda unless there's some objection to the one change. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the change? Any second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right. Mr. Nichols, then we'll do a public comment and then we'll move on with the cases.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for accommodating me early this evening. I certainly appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment and address both the Planning Commission and the board tonight regarding the rezoning of the parcel behind Yoder's, the 4812C, from A1, B1 to M1 Industrial. I know we've spoken about it often and at great length, but a problem has come to light that we need to address. Last August, the owner of parcel 4812C filed an application to rezone the property from A1B1 to M1 Industrial with the intention of building a solar power plant. Multiple workshops were held, a public hearing took place, all for the applicant to table their application on the night of the public hearing. Then the application was either withdrawn or allowed to expire a short time later. In August of this year, I was informed by Mr. Webb that the rezoning and solar project was proceeding, and there will be workshops held in September, October, with a joint public hearing to vote on the proposal today, November 2nd. Within the last few weeks, after many months worth of meetings, Mr. Webb advised me that the vote for the rezoning was being pushed back until December because an application has not yet been submitted for this project. It is immensely frustrating to learn that the person who is asking for the rezoning has no skin in the game. No application, no fees paid. However, our time and your time has been expended on this issue. I have attended every workshop, every meeting, and every hearing over the past year in which this rezoning and subsequent special use permit has been discussed, at least all the ones that I've been made aware of. My wife and I have spent countless hours researching zoning law, as well as the impact of a utility-scale solar facility on farming communities, and conducting marketability studies of residential property, including our property, that is adjacent to industrial zone land. Additionally, we've spent money. We've purchased and built out a website, printed many signs to raise public awareness of this issue, and we have waged a social media campaign and rallied the support of our neighbors. The would-be applicant has not even filed any new paperwork or paid the county. In light of this, I'm coming to you this evening to ask that 4 things be considered. The first is I respectfully ask the Planning Commission and the board to discern why so much time was dedicated on a rezoning where the would-be applicant has no skin in the game and can't be bothered to refile their paperwork. This should not be allowed to happen, as your time and our time is too valuable to be wasted on developers looking to come into our county to float ideas without any good faith money. The second item I would ask the board and commission to consider is the message it sends to Madison County citizens and potential developers when there are public meetings and discussions of rezoning and development without a signed application. We want to be kind and courteous to all of our community members. We want to be respectful of our developers that would bring responsible growth to our beloved county. We want to give both the benefit of the doubt and hear both sides of the issue when considering development. But in order to be fair to all, the rules and procedures must be followed. Developers represent a business. They will naturally seek to maximize their profit and minimize their costs. You represent our community interests. I would ask of you that we will signal that those wanting to come in and develop our county will need to follow the procedures when we have in place to do so. This is critical in order to build trust with potential developers and let them know that we will hold them accountable for following the rules and ordinance we've put in place. The third item I would ask you to address: consider the frequency and timing with which someone may ask for the same rezoning. Currently, if the would-be applicants filed for a second time, they could table it again and then refile again. Or you could vote no for a rezoning, then they could come back the next day and refile again and again. Developers like Luth Callan know this long game wears people out. Boards and commission members change over time, properties change hands. And one day, when the community at large is tired of hearing about rezoning and solar applications, the timing will fall in favor of the developer, and the permission of the rezoning might be granted. As we look to bring new developments and businesses into the county, I would urge you to take under consideration how long you want citizens like myself and my wife to live in perpetual zoning limbo. The last thing I'll ask you all this evening is to remember the level of importance and priority this developer gave to following our rules and procedures. When this application actually does hit your desks, remember how they took up your time and energy with no regard for any of ours. Ask yourself if you really want our county doing business with a company like that. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we will proceed with our regular cases then. As always, we will present each case. Mr. Webb will provide information for us and answer questions. The applicant will then have a chance to respond to any questions from the Planning Commission. Following that, any comments from the public will be opened. All right, first case is case number S-11-22-28. Mr. Eldon Yoder has applied to subdivide an existing 10-acre agriculture zone parcel. The subdivision would create 2 new parcels and 1 residue parcel. The new parcels would be 3.1 acres and 3.3 acres, and the residue parcel would be 3.5 acres. The subject parcel has not been subdivided in the previous 10 years, and future subdivision rights of each parcel would be exhausted. The subject 10-acre parcel does not contain a postal address, but is located on Twyman's Mill Road, Route 705, Madison, Virginia. The parcel is identified on Madison County's tax map as 51-21. Ligon, do you have anything to add?
We have the VDOT letter. So everything looks good from their perspective. I did talk to Emily from the health department, and she said that they'll have the approval letter. She had to go out to the site, that she'll have it to me end of this week, so by Friday, but said that everything looked good. I think there was a question about can the reserve and the main drain field be on the same area, which it can. As far as I think Supervisor Yao had said something about it. I know I was kind of out of last meeting. It didn't come until midway through remotely, but it doesn't have a well site, but they'll have to have a well, obviously, in order to get a CO. It's not unusual not to have a well site on the plat. Matter of fact, I say most don't. Some put it on there. It just kind of depends on the surveyor if it's on the in the health department records. So it's by right subdivision. Everything is in order. You can see he has a maintenance agreement. Looks pretty nice. So I would encourage you just to take a look at it. If any questions, answer it, and move it along.
Okay. Pete, did you have a question?
Could we see the other plaques of the lot itself, please?
Mr. Barry, can you move that along, please? Mr. Elliott, if there's a certain one, if he goes past, just let him know.
Okay. Any other question for Ligon? Okay. Does the applicant wish to address the Planning Commission? Does anyone have a question for the applicant? Okay, we've looked at this for 2 workshops, and everything looks pretty straightforward, I think. If not, do I have a motion on this case?
May want to open it to the
Oh,
public.
public, sorry. Yeah, any public comment on this case? Thank you. Do I have a motion on this case?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that case number S-11-22-28 be recommended to the Board of Supervisors for approval, provided he has a letter from the Health Department.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of recommending approval with the requirement of the Health Department approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So case number S-11-22-28 will be recommended for approval by the Board of Supervisors. Case number S-11-22-29, Mr. Joseph Kinchelow has applied to subdivide an existing 13.5 acre A1 agriculture zone parcel. The subdivision would create 3 new parcels and 1 residue parcel. The new parcels would be 3.3 acres, 3.2 acres, and 3 acres. And the residue parcel would be 3.8 acres. The subject parcel has not been subdivided in the previous 10 years, and future subdivision rights on each parcel would be exhausted. The subject 13.5 acre parcel does not contain a postal address, but is located on Arrington Mountain Road, Route 606, Haywood, Virginia. Parcel identified on Madison County's tax map as 23-64.
Chairman,
Yes.
I need to excuse myself from this application.
Okay, thank you, Pete. All right, Mr. Webb, do you have anything to add on this one?
Nope, same thing as the last one. So if everything's in order, and Emily said she'll have hopefully everything to me on Friday.
Okay, so we're still waiting on that, but
That's
everything
correct.
else is in order.
Mhm.
All right, we don't have a maintenance agreement on this, but there's no.
That's all on the public
most of this-
road. So
yeah, okay. There's 2 shared driveways, is that what I'm saying?
that's correct.
Okay. Anyone have a question for Ligon on this case? Okay, apparently not. Does the applicant wish to address us? Okay. Does anyone have a question for the applicant? All right, if not, is there any public comment on this case? Okay, if not, can I hear a motion on this case, please?
Chairman, I recommend the case number S-11-22-29
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. So case number S-11-22-29 will be recommended for approval to the Board of Supervisors. Next case is case number SU-11-22-30. Good Hope Baptist Church has applied to amend and expand an existing special use permit to operate an educational facility, private school, on a 3.9 acre A1 agriculture zone parcel. In the A1 zoning district, a private school is allowable by special use permit. In 2014, Good Hope Baptist Church received a special use permit to operate a daycare/preschool from the church's existing sanctuary building located on a parcel that adjoins the subject parcel to this amended special use permit request. If approved, the applicant is proposing to construct a school building containing roughly 12,000 square feet of floor area, upper and lower levels, with occasional uses as a church fellowship reception hall. The new school's maximum enrollment would not exceed 200 students. If this amended school use permit is approved, the existing Good Hope Baptist Church preschool with an enrollment of roughly 20 students, would continue to operate on the adjoining parcel. The existing preschool's postal address of 2930 Beautiful Run Road, Route 629, Radiant, Virginia, is identified on Madison County's tax map as 57-56. The undeveloped parcel, which is the subject of this amended special use permit request, does not contain a postal address, but is located on Beautiful Run Road, directly to the north or behind the Good Oak Baptist Church's sanctuary building and preschool. Further, this parcel is identified on Madison County's tax maps as 57-56A. Okay, Leland, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'll just go over a few things in the report. First, there was a special use granted by the Board of Supervisors for the preschool that's in the church sanctuary. Has roughly, I believe, 20 students today. This would be an expansion of this, obviously, to the adjoining parcel, which Good Hope Baptist Church also owns. And as you can see from the site plan, they have an orientation of the building and the proposed gymnasium and also the parking areas. I've gotten a few comments. I'll just say first off, a few emails that came in late. The first thing is, I just sort of repeating what I've read, and does Madison need another private school, or what's sort of in that sort of vein? And my sort of answer to that is I don't really think that's a question for the planning commission or the board. I think it's really a land use issue, and that's sort of how I approach it. It's sort of like, do we need a campground? I don't really know that, but where people come. But that's really from the proprietor, the folks who are operating this. They're the ones who ultimately need to know that. So I think we look at it strictly, by my humble opinion, from a land use decision. The first thing we look at is the traffic. I've been in correspondence with VDOT, and they are comfortable, and you can see a letter in the packet with a commercial entrance. The new entrance would be a commercial entrance. That just means it's a wide radius where folks can get in and out. There's good sight distance there, so they don't see any need. And again, they're a recommending body to us. They don't see a need for a turn lane or any major expansion to Beautiful Run, but they would like to see, they recommend a commercial entrance. And that's what that letter says. It actually points out a part in the VDOT handbook. And what they're showing here on the site plan might need to be a little wider, but the folks at Good Hope, Ms. Gar, I think are well, understand that, been in contact with VDOT. They were very pleased with the circulation plan for how traffic would come in and out and move through the site. accommodate this building. So again, my conversation with the VDH folks, we're in good shape there. Parking, we've got ample parking. What's being showed there, well over what's required. I'm counting somewhere around 35 spaces would be required for that building. The school use, we're showing 160. If I count it correctly. Maybe they want to kind of accommodate, maybe accommodate their church parking a little better. But I don't think we're going to have any issues with parking. On the conditions, if this is something that the commission or ultimately the board would approve, I did in the packet just put 5 sort of basic conditions saying, this would be conformed to the site plan, which has been submitted, the conceptual site plan, that the enrollment would not exceed 200 students, preschool through 12, that the new entrance would be constructed to VDOT commercial specifications, as the letter from VDOT says, and that, until the septic is we have that firm response from VDH, which again, I think we're there, but obviously would need that before the building is actually issued a building permit. And any substantial changes or any changes to this would mean you have to come back through this process again. So I think those 5 basic conditions sort of cover what we, in a special use permit that we would want to sort of have in a special use to sort of protect the applicants and the county. Otherwise, as you can see, my recommendation, I do believe that that folks at Good Hope Baptist Church have worked hard to reach out to the community. I don't think, my understanding, this has been talked about for a while, for several years. And I believe we have everything in order from a development standpoint to move this forward when they are ready to move forward. Of course, they'd come back with a site plan in here. So other than that, any questions for me?
Peter, you had a comment you wanted to make on this? No. Okay. Any questions?
Ligon, I know at one
Yes.
time we had talked about the gymnasium, whether it was the gymnasium is part of the application.
Yes, we talked about it at the last workshop. It has been on the site plan. It's not specifically cited in the ad, but I believe that anyone who wants to comment on that is welcome to do. It's obviously been on everything we've shown and put online and distributed to the public. So as far as I'm concerned, it's fine to move forward with that. I think Sean I'll let him talk for himself. I know we've had that conversation.
Speak to your question. Most schools have gymnasiums.
I agree.
So I think that could someone bring it up as an issue when we find somebody with a black robe who disagrees with that assessment? The answer is absolutely. But, from where I sit, I believe that the gymnasium is in fact part and parcel of this.
I just asked because it was a question that had come up last time.
Mr. Gregg, would it be to maybe our benefit legally to actually add that to the case description here? Since it's obviously not in the case description.
Well, it could not hurt. You can certainly add that. The question becomes whether we need to re-advertise. My position is we do not need to re-advertise this.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for additional input, if you may recall, I raised this so the board, the planning commission rather, could be fully aware. I asked the applicant to please speak to it because it was my understanding prior to the meeting that the applicant wished for the gymnasium to be part of it. And certainly when you get a chance to speak to the applicant tonight, they indicated at the workshop, yes, the gymnasium is to be part of this. So I just want to reiterate that for the record.
Any other question? Yes, Mike.
So, Ligon, you talked about the traffic being as far as the build out. So, are they going to do everything all at one time? But they're not apparently.
Well, I'll let Ms. Garr speak to that, but I don't think they're planning on, 200 students is not going to be next year. I mean, it'll take a while. I mean, the building might be there, but it might, the
So
200.
get a CO
Right.
based on the building and not so much the student size.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other question for Ligon? I have a quick question, Ligon. You cited traffic information on Beautiful Run Road and Good Hope Church Road. Is that correct? There's actually Beautiful Run Road goes through there, Good Hope Church Road, and then of course there's I think it's Locust Grove Church. So there's actually that's an intersection there. There's
Right.
4 roads. They had no data on the
Yeah, when you go through, what does it become when it goes through Good Hope?
Locust Grove.
Locust Grove.
Church, I think.
I looked at it after the fact, and that number was a little lower than good, but all the roads there kind of have a consistent sort of
So
traffic count.
They did have
Right.
traffic.
They do,
on that,
yeah, they
too.
do have one for that.
Yeah.
But so I'm sorry I didn't include that, but it was.
Any other question for Ligon?
I got
Yes,
a comment to make. Like you just said, Steve, there's 4 roads you can leave there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's not going to leave on the one road, the one direction. A lot of people can go to Orange or go Good Hope or 4 different directions, and everybody's not going to leave at one time. So I don't think there's a traffic problem there at all.
Okay. Yes, Dan.
I live in a Good Hope Church Road, and I haven't noticed any kind of traffic problem with the school there now at all. And I'm retired, so I'm out and about in my woods and all that stuff. I can hear the vehicles go by, and it's nothing more than what it always was.
Okay. Any other question or comment for that part? Okay, does the applicant wish to address us or just answer questions? Sure, come on up. Identify yourself so for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Jill Garth, and I'm the current director of Good Hope Church Preschool.
Thank you. All right, any questions for the applicant?
I'll make a comment, Steve.
Okay.
I think you've done a great job of presenting it to us with the book and all that you gave us, and you worked hard to be straightforward with what you got, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much, and I would like to make sure that I give credit where credit is due, and it was a team effort on the binder and all the work, and Miss Mary Castillo is here this evening, sitting next to me, and she was an integral part of getting all of those materials to you and getting the binders and everything together. Both of us worked together, so I just want to make sure that to give credit where credit is due. Thank you.
Any other question? I would like to ask, would you like us to add in the wording about the gymnasium as part of the case? Since it's not in there right now. I mean, I understand it's in your site plan and everything, but in the actual case description, would you like us to add that as we make a motion on it?
I really don't know how to answer that question. You
Well-
can add that to it. It is part of our plan. Mr. Webb spoke to whether we would be doing all of this at one time or not, and we don't know the answer to that question either. It probably will come in pieces, and we will not be at the 200 mark on year 1 for sure. That will be a gradual process. But you may add it if you would like.
But I think our point has been, you don't want to have to come back for
Yes, sir,
another
that's
permit
correct.
application.
That's correct, yes, sir. So please do put that in there. That
Okay.
would prevent me from coming back.
All right, any other question for the applicant? All right, if not, thank you. Do we have any public comment on this case? All right, if you would come up, identify yourself, and in interest of time, try to be as brief as you can, please. Please.
Go ahead.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, please go to the microphone, identify yourself.
You know, I puzzle about things that goes on in the world today, and
Would you identify yourself, please?
I'm Douglas Berry,
Thank you.
Madison, Virginia, and gymnasium, you know, is part of a church. Is this going to be Christian based for this gymnasium, or is just anyone allowed to come to this gymnasium?
We'll have to ask her, sir, and we will have to wait. You can't ask her. We'll.
Please address your comments to the planning commission. This is not a question and answer session. If you have a comment, we listen to your comments, and we've heard that you had an interest in that.
Right.
We'll see if there's an answer forthcoming later.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon Gregory. I live directly across from this property, and I'm here to represent myself as well as the elderly neighbors that are not able to get out here tonight because of the time of the meeting and some illnesses. My concerns are the traffic partly. I kind of sit here and go, I can't believe VDOT sat there and said, there's a hill and a curve at the top, right across from my first entrance to my driveway. In fact, the postal carrier made us place their mailbox at the other driveway to protect herself. Every day, if you go out and look at this road, it's rutted on both sides because two vehicles, like the horse trailers that come through there, the landscapers that come through, any kind of utility type truck, and another vehicle, it doesn't have to be two of them, cannot pass in that road in that section. It is not wide enough. I teach driver's ed for a living, and it is not safe. There's every day I go down any of those roads, you are always worried that you're going to get sideswiped or hit head on. So it is a safety issue. Numbers, I know numbers, but it is a huge safety issue through that area. And people get run off the road on a daily basis on that end. The Good Hope going old Beautiful Run out to 230 is very unsafe, as well as coming down and going the other way. Saying that it has four ways out, they're all converging into one spot. School time starts very tight. I'm an educator of over 30 years. I've run multiple, like 10, 12, 15 years of how to run a car rider line. Best laid plans never work. I can promise you that. Thinking that they're going to leave all at different times, it's not going to happen. Okay, when that bell rings, the end of the day, you're going to have a mass influx of traffic. You're going to have people waiting that may not fit in their car rider line and spill out into the community. So that is part of my safety concerns there. This is currently zoned as an agricultural 1, and I'm asking that you continue to make it an agricultural 1. The side border toward the gymnasium, this lower right side, is 25 feet from my neighbor's property line. Okay, they have not reached out to us at all. The only way I found out is from the letter from you guys. There was no approach, no like, hey, there's a different way to do this. Why do you have to impend on somebody's, we're out in the country for a reason. Why do we need to be right next door? I think there are better accessible places to be considered in Madison that would handle the traffic. But you also need to know, I'd like to know who they surveyed. When they said they surveyed their people, they have 20 kids. So are those 20 kids coming through? How did they get their numbers? I think it's a big concern as an educator, the impact it's going to have for Madison County Public Schools. From the state this year, you get $13,694 a student in public schools. So let's just say we're not building out to 200 yet. You build out to 100. That's $1.36 million that will not be available from the state to Madison County Public Schools. If you go to the 200, that's $2.73 million a year that's not available for Madison County Public Schools. That's teacher jobs. That's over 2 grade levels that would disappear from your school system. They need as much support and funding as any educator needs at this day and time. So I think you would really be cutting your educational system off at the knees to go forward with this. I don't think it's a very prudent approach to what your school system needs in this county. I don't think that they've had church there in over 3 years. The current use of the daycare is still in the footprint of the existing church. So it's not as much as putting a 2-story building across the street. There are no 2-story buildings in that area at all. It doesn't match the community at all. So I think in planning, I think those are things you need to consider. I bought there to have a peaceful enjoyment of my property, and I think this will definitely infringe on that. And I just really, I urge you to not approve this at this time at that location. I think that they could find a more suitable location. Traffic does honestly concern me quite a bit. Having to use that to go to work and then go into do driver's ed. They're also talking to open it in the notes that I read from last week, open it for homeschoolers also to come in. So I think we're just adding, where else can we get money? Traditionally, my experience is that private schools do not pay taxes. They're tax exempt. So there is no revenue coming back to the county to offset any of this $1 to $2 million that you're going to be losing on the educational side. Okay, so those are all things I think that need to be looked at. So that's, my concern. If this goes through, I'm sure that several of us would have to, move to another place to get what we wanted and came for to get out of Madison County. I teach in another county, but I've lived in Madison for about 20 years now. I've taught in Culpeper, but can't call Madison my home. I teach in Greene. I call Madison my home. So I would like to keep that, I love it out here as it is. If you haven't been out that road, drive it for yourself and see how many times you have to slow down, brake, and hit the side of the road on a normal traffic, whatever they said, 46 cars an hour. Okay. I really encourage you to look at the actual site of that location. So, is there anything else that anyone needs to hear from me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
My name is Larry Dotson, and I'm Miss Gregory's, we neighbors. I live on Beautiful Run Road, and I've been living there pretty close to 30 years now. And I lived on Locust Grove for 25 years, and I moved up on Beautiful Run Road. And I have seen a lot of traffic on Beautiful Run Road in the last year, more than what it used to be. I think I was at the meeting here when they wanted to open that school, and they said it wouldn't be over 20 kids. I went by there the other day, and I know it was between 30 and 35 kids there at the school. And on top of it, the road is not wide enough for two cars to go down. I went to VDOT and asked them could they put a solid line down through it. They said no, because it's got to be 18 foot wide to put a solid line. I measured it this week. It ain't but 16 foot. That was right at my driveway. But I just think they ought to find somewhere else to do it. Go down on 230. It'd be nice. I know there's a lot of land on 230 for sale and everything. And that would be a whole lot better. You got a nice road down there and everything. That's about all I got to say.
Thank you. Other public comment?
I'm Mike Sharman. I'm from the Novum area of Madison County, and always love hearing people talk about their roads, because it gives me a chance to not complain, but to bring up to you the attention to my road, which is 605. And it's kind of like a lot of the kids' pants right now. It's ultra skinny. You can't go up. Two cars can't go down in many places. I think Tammy Henshaw had come out and talked to you all a little bit earlier about that. So just keep that in mind, 605. That's not why I came up, though. The gentlewoman made a lot of excellent points. But this school wouldn't get 10 students or 20 students if all the parents were satisfied with Madison County Public Schools. It's just that simple. People always prefer public school. It's got the resources, it's got the teams, it's got the band, all that. But I've been sitting through a lot of the school board meetings recently, and 12% pass rate on the history standardized scores is abysmal. 14%, 24% on other ones. I mean, it is terrible. Virginia has lower than the national average. Madison has lower than Virginia's average. It's terrible. Also, we're in Thanksgiving month, and we need to really consider that. I always, thank goodness my wife gives me my $50 allowance every month. I've got almost half, well, not quite half of it left. But on the back of it, it says the same thing that seal does. In God we trust. So that's who we're thankful for this month. And we're actually thankful that a church body is wanting to educate children, not just in literacy issues, not just in history, but in matters of God. The first proverb, the first verses in it are talking about, get wisdom so that you know justice and you know mercy. We need that. Now, we also need roads that 2 cars can go down safely. What you might want to do is just go look at where Fredericksburg Christian is now. They say it's in Spotsylvania, but you feel like you're going to Richmond when you get there. And it's on a 2-lane road, but they did do a decel to do it to take care of a lot of the problems. I don't know that you're really going to have the impact that is anticipated. My farm's right at the intersection of Rappahannock, Culpeper, and Madison. I'm in Madison. But you jog just a little ways up, and you're in Culpeper a little bit further, or a little bit different direction, you're in Rappahannock. And I remember when Rappahannock was having the debate on whether they should allow the Korean prayer house there. And so many of my neighbors called and said, well, will you come out and speak against it? Because we know it's going to create so much traffic. All these people are coming in from Northern Virginia. So years later, you can ask anybody, did you even notice any impact? Now, schools are different. They do have the start and stop time. But those are issues that can be accommodated. What can't be accommodated is the loss of a childhood, the loss of the educational opportunities at each developmental stage that is critical. Why does somebody who learns French at 16 never get a French accent? Because they aren't built that way. Why does a kid just automatically learn whatever language is being taught to them and spoken to them with a perfect fluency when they're 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8? Because they're built that way. That sounds like a good time for me to just shut up and sit down, but I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
That was very good. I appreciate that.
Other public comment?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Tucker. I'm a resident of Madison County, more specifically downtown Shelby. And I appreciate this opportunity to speak in support of the Good Hope Christian School. Even though I'm on the faculty of a private school in a neighboring county, I applaud Good Hope's efforts to expand the educational opportunities here at home. Their proposed plans are most impressive, but their goal of providing a high caliber, well-rounded Christian education is even more impressive. Mrs. Garth and her team have a proven track record, and they deserve the opportunity to fulfill this need for our county here at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this? Any other public comment? Yes, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Payton. My husband and I have been residents of Madison for the past 12 years. However, we've called it home going on 40. We both currently operate small businesses here in the county. Our 3-year-old started preschool at Good Hope in the fall of last year. In the year she's been at Good Hope, she's grown into a smart and confident young lady. We couldn't be happier with the love and care and attention she's received from the people at Good Hope. The teachers, parents, and students all come together to worship God's Word, create lasting friendships, and raise the next generation of well-rounded children in our community. Mrs. Garth and the other teachers and assistants at Good Hope Preschool have been compassionate and communicative. They're honest and genuine people who have created a very special program in Madison. Growing it will not only give parents an option other than the public school, it will provide jobs for residents and revenue for the county. After hearing Mrs. Garth's plan for this new school, it's obvious she's not only a devoted mother and teacher, she is a Madison native who is devoted to this community and wants the very best for many generations to come. She has thought on and prayed for this opportunity for a very long time, and I have no doubt she's thought of everything needed for a considerate, smooth, and successful operation. She's very approachable, and I know she'll be all ears if you have questions or concerns now or in the future.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, thank you. Any further comments from Planning Commission? Peter, did you want? We're getting ready to.
I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Okay. So Peter's going to be abstaining from the vote. All right. Any motion on this, please?
Mr. Chairman, before I make the motion, I want to say that I know Ms. Garth, and I know a lot of people go to that church, and they're good people, and their heart's in the right place. If you look at TV this day and time, all you see is they want to put kids in a public school and a private school because of what's been teaching in the public school, and they're not getting a good education. We have a lot of new people moving to Madison County that want to put their kids in public school. So I'm going to make a motion that case number SU-11-22-30 be recommended to the board for approval with the application saying they need to have health department approval, and the gymnasium will be part of this approval.
Second.
All right, moved and second. Let's see. Let's do a show of hands on this. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Okay, that's pretty unanimous. Peter's abstaining. Yes.
I'd note that you do have one abstention.
Yes, Peter's abstaining. Yes. Thank you. All right, very good. So case number SU-11-22-30 with the addition of the gymnasium and with the health department approval will be recommended for approval. Thank you. All right, our fourth case this evening is case number SU-11-22-31. Mr. Ahmed Helmi has applied for a special use permit to operate an event venue on A1 agriculture zone parcels. In the A1 zoning district, an event venue use is allowable by special use permit and required to adhere to Articles 14-18 through 14.18.4 of the zoning ordinance. The applicant is seeking a special use permit to allow an entire 38.6 acre parcel and a roughly 20 acre portion of an adjoining parcel be utilized for the following uses: up to 70 individual short-term rental units consisting of a mixture of cabins and glamping units, a single structure containing a lodge, restaurant, and wellness center, maintenance/housekeeping building, a pavilion, and an employee housing building, employee housing buildings. The applicant has proffered a conceptual site layout design and eliminated large-scale outdoor events as an allowable use. The 38.6 acre parcel does not have a postal address, but is located on Ford Shop Road, Route 618, roughly 1,325 feet from the intersection of Ford Shop Road and Beamtown Road, Route 632. The adjoining 20 acre portion of a parcel has a postal address of 638 Ford Shop Road, Culpeper, Virginia. Where did it go? Yes, thank you. The remainder, no, that's all we have. Okay. That seems to have stopped somewhat in the middle. Ligon, do you want to carry on from there?
That must be the boards in general. They might shut it off back there.
No, this is the same thing. Stops with the.
I think there was one additional V that needs to be omitted.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's it. I'm sorry.
That was it. Okay.
That was it.
All right. While you're at it, Ligon, do you have anything to add to that?
Got a few things. Of course, this is something that we've talked about for, I think, since last spring. And I know that Ahmed and Nermeen have been in touch. We've been talking probably for almost a year, trying to get a feel for how a proposal like this would be received. And in the last 6 months, we've worked with the applicant to sort of hear the proposal out. My feeling is, from the first kind of conceptual site plan that we've gotten, it's essentially the same request. I mean, there have been some modifications as we've discussed this, but the bulk of it has been essentially this. And during the course of the 6 months, the Plan Commission has requested that the applicant do a little due diligence and sort of find out. I think one of the questions, was related to the septic, if that was possible. I was always kind of of the opinion if you've got the wherewithal and the funds, it's possible. And I think we have found out that the site would support the septic. We also, eventually, the first sort of reading that we did of this, one of the concerns was the density. And the applicant, of course, went to an adjoining property owner to acquire 20 more acres. So I've always felt the applicant has wanted to hear, what were the Plan Commission's and ultimately the board's concerns, and address those concerns in a manner that was open, transparent, and back and forth between the Plan Commission. And I know there's been outreach to the community. I think, public officials, elected officials often get criticized for not being business friendly, but when we get a proposal before us, we often, find ourselves sort of in a dilemma because something like this would be a major change. And I don't think we've always known this to that area. And I know that's always difficult. But as you can see from the site plan, I won't go over, what it shows, but I think we're all familiar with the cabins, the total number of guests at 224. So the breakdown between the glamping units and the cabins. I'm just kind of going to go through my report not in any particular order as I wrote it. The applicant has stated, this, if it came to fruition, in this as planned, you're looking at somewhere between a $17 and $25 million investment. When I look at the comprehensive plan and sort of what was the vision the county had for itself a few years ago, I think often a comprehensive plan is general enough where really just depending on your disposition, how you feel about the project, one could probably find something to support or to deny it. I think the comprehensive plan, obviously, we have a goal of preserving, protecting, enhancing natural beauty and rural character, water quality in Madison County. We also, the very next goal, have promote tourism and visitor-related enterprises, attraction events. So ultimately, I think that these decisions come down to, I like to use the word legislative discretion. I do believe it's something that two people could look at, and one could surmise that it's a great idea. One could surmise it's not such a good idea. The one thing I did do the last few days was just to sort of look at similar operations in the region and maybe compare and contrast some of the differences. And I just picked out 5. I'll just go real quick. I drive by this every day. So just outside of Luray is a 50-acre site known as Yogi Bear Campground, and that's on 211. 211 is a 4-lane divided highway sort of a different, sort of transportation location, a different feel against the Shenandoah National Park on 50 acres, and that has easily over 75 units. So just to kind of give you a little flavor. There's another one in Luray RV Resort and Campground, which is backs up to the Shenandoah River. That's also on 211, which again is a sort of like a, call it 29 style highway that has 80 campsites and RV sites on 81 acres. Here locally, we have Madison Vines, this cottage and RV sites, and that has 100 RV sites and 11 cabins on 30 acres. Now that's on 29. So those three examples are really three that are very similar, but they do access ingress egress is achieved on much higher volume roads. Another one locally, Getaway Shenandoah and Standardsville, just on the other side of the county line. That is 80 acres and looks like it has 45 cabins. So a little larger, smaller footprint, and that's on Route 230. The one that I did find that Cedar Mountain Campground in Culpeper has 60 sites, and that's on the Camp Road, which is a rural road. And that's just kind of on the other side of the border with Madison. And looking at the traffic counts, and is that we look at Ford Shop Road, unlike for the 5 ones that I pointed out, the campgrounds is you have a much lower traffic count. You have 140 annual average daily traffic. The nearby Meander Run has 300. And your peak hour, they don't have a peak hour for Ford Shop Road, but the VDOT traffic counts for Meander Run are 30 vehicles in that peak hour. Ford Shop Road's had 7 accidents in the last, I think it was 56 months, over 4 years. 4 were with deers, animals. So it's by no means a traffic hotspot, but it also doesn't get a lot of traffic. As I look at it, the traffic generation data, which is in the packet that the applicant provided, obviously there's a very good sight distance on Ford Shop Road. One could argue that the fact that it has low traffic counts is that potentially it could accept more traffic. The traffic study that was done, at least the counts, it wasn't signed by an engineer, but it says the AM with the 70 glamping or cabin sites, the AM peak would be 33 vehicles, and the PM peak, and that's that 1 hour, would be 58 vehicle trips. And that's planning for the peak time, as I see it, maybe in your summer months when you expect to be full. I do believe if you look at the total traffic, what would be the total traffic? And again, I've made my sort of statement on traffic studies, and there's no perfect way to do it. But at full capacity, if you're full capacity and you have 70 glamping units with the 224 folks, I think you probably, on again, peak day, July 4th weekend, you probably could have between 140, 200 daily trips coming in and out. Now, it's going to be dispersed through different times of the day, but you can see that's quite a bit more than the current average daily traffic on Ford Shop. VDOT's position is that they will review the site plan when it comes in, but talk to the applicant, and they understand that that when the site plan does come back, if it is approved, and I know that's speculative from my point, but if it were to be approved, we can expect commercial entrance, potentially a right turn lane, taper lane, and that will be recommended at that time. But I think it's, again, would get an engineer design that, and I would at minimum expect a commercial style entrance with most likely some sort of a taper turn lane. Again, this one for me, and it's been difficult, and I've talked to a lot of people from the public, and I understand the majority of the public is against it. It's, again, these land use, as we all well know here as a commission and a board, they're emotional issues. Even sometimes very small items can be very emotional when you're talking about someone's backyard. And I've for some reason made this a career, but I think there are merits to this. I've always, ideally, I think if it was a phased approach, would probably be the ideal situation, but also understand from an entrepreneur's perspective that it's hard to just say, well, give me a little bit, and then I'll just hope, maybe in a few years I'll come back and the same folks will be amenable to it. So I understand that's something that is not possible from the applicant's perspective, but I still believe that it's something that that again, two different people could come to two different conclusions. I think we've worked hard on reviewing this application, and the applicant has definitely been forward to answer any questions. And obviously, we have a list of 20 very specific conditions that we have gone over in exhaustive detail. And I appreciate everyone's contribution and work on that. So other than that, I don't have anything else. Any questions for me or?
Any questions for Leland? All right. Would the applicant like to address the planning commission?
Yeah, Mr. Helmy just said, he'll just answer any questions when he's done.
We apparently have some questions, so if you would go ahead to the mic. Okay, any questions for?
I've got a question.
Yes, Peter.
I think there's been an assumption since we started talking about this, Mr. Helmy, that this would provide some economic benefit for the county. I certainly have made that assumption, but recently I've begun to wonder just what that benefit would be. Have you done any, or have done for you, any economic benefit analysis from the standpoint of the county?
So, would you mind getting the presentation? Because there's a part of it that discusses this point regarding the economic impact on the county. And there's, if you don't mind, can you please scroll down? Two more slides, please. So, if we are to look, first and foremost, this project will, the size of investment is around 25 million, give or take. It depends on inflation and where we are. But 25 million, for the most part, these are local contractors, local consultants, local engineers. So definitely there's a spillover effect from this investment in the local economy. And it is a sizable investment. So that is the capital investment that would basically create employment and jobs throughout the construction period and even during the design period. Moving forward, once operations kicks off, we're planning to hire around 40 employees. Usually we prefer locals, and that's economics, because when you hire locals, it's we don't have to house them on our property or even rent housing for them. So if there is local resources, we would definitely be hiring 40 employees from the local labor market. In addition to that, there is definitely direct impact on taxes, transit taxes. We're expecting on average the first 4 or 5 years around, that's an average. It does increase with as the years progress, but that's around average of $5-6 million of revenues every year. That trickles down to taxes. On the other hand, transient guests do not impact the public service system in terms of hospitals, in terms of schools, in terms of law enforcement. So basically they're paying taxes, but they're not getting much in return. So there is a net benefit when it comes to taxes. In addition to that, naturally we tend to source our food and beverage from local suppliers. So that, again, there's a spillover effect in the local economy. And we do a lot of co-marketing with local businesses. So there is definitely an impact. If you scroll down to the next, the slide after. And yeah, just I want to talk about glamping and where is this economically, where is this hospitality market going? I mean, based on Forbes, this business in 2021 is $2.3 billion and expected to reach in 2030 $5.9 billion. That's an average of 10.9% growth per year. If you compare it to the average GDP growth of like 3.1%, that's around 3.5 multiples of the average growth of the economy. So this business is here to stay. It is growing exponentially, and I think it does put Madison County on the map, along with other counties that have been attracting this kind of business. Again, it does attract affluent guests who are willing to pay the ADR that is around $350 $400 a day, and these are not your typical campers. They like to explore the local food scene. They like to shop. They like to go to restaurants. So they do like the outdoors, but they're also based on statistics. And I do have a research here that is with a sample of 1,200 people, and I did reference it in this presentation. It shows that those folks do spend in the local economy. So I hope I did answer your question.
I've got a couple of follow-ups. You mentioned a contractor. Have you identified a general contractor for this job, and if so, which?
Not at this point. First, we started with the designers. So that would be the architects and the landscape architects that we're working with. And once we're set on the conceptual designs, we start discussing with either a GC or a construction manager, depending on how we want to approach it. But usually we do that once we have concrete conceptual designs. So once we move into the schematic designs, this is when we start having conversations with GCs.
Are any of these architects or landscape designers located in Madison County?
So right now we're working with Valley Engineering, not located here, but to give you an example, the consultant who did the job is local and was recommended by the Madison County Department of Health. The soil consultant.
Excuse me. One last question on this line. You've spoken, as you would acknowledge, in generalities about the potential economic benefit, and I think that's been the basis for my assumption as well, just generalities. You made one specific statement that that suggested that you actually intend to run this operation, but you've told us at other times that you intend to sell it once you've constructed it. But my question, just ending up on this economic benefit thing, have you done anything formal to particularize economic benefit for Madison County, or is it, as in my case, is your position based on the same kind of assumptions that I've made?
So yeah, I want to clarify a point regarding ownership. The reason I said I didn't say I'm going to sell it, by the way. I said at this point I cannot. I would be deceiving everyone in this room if I say yes, I'll be operating it, or yes, I'll be developing it. These type of investments is not you build, own, and operate. These are complex ownership structures that include general partners, limited partners. It does include debt and equity. It does include operators. So I could be the GP, the general partner who's developing this. I could be a limited partner who's acting as a fee developer. I could be a passive investor. So I don't want to say I'll be building, owning, and operating this, because with these size of investments, the ownership structure is quite complicated. But I didn't say I'm going to sell it. I said at this point I cannot exactly say my level of involvement. So just to answer this question, regarding the second question, I do not have a formal economic study that was conducted by a third party. I'm talking generalities because, I mean, that's hospitality, that's tourism. And if I'm investing here $25 million, it wouldn't make much sense sourcing everything from outside because it wouldn't be economical. So yes, I did respond. It is a general response, but I believe it's a sensible response. When you develop or construct a project, it makes sense to hire locals because it's more economical and more profitable for them.
Any other questions for Mr. Helmy? Well, all right, I guess we should wait for a comment till after the public comment, yeah. No other question? Yes.
Can I ask Ligon a question?
Sure.
So, based upon what I'm reading here about the VDOT stuff, most of these calculations are what you did, which is fine. And VDOT has said they're not going to make a recommendation on the entrance. Did they make any kind of recommendation on the traffic other than what you've come up with?
No, so there was on that site distance, there's a Valley Engineering provided an analysis of peak traffic, which I think is a good analysis. VDOT simply says when we get a formal site plan, we'll recommend whether we think we should have a turn lane, once we get that concrete engineered plan. And what our condition says that the applicant would get an engineer to look at those traffic counts and design the most appropriate entrance. The big question would be, I think, whether you're going to have some sort of a turn lane. If the road need to be widened some to take people off the road to turn. So that question will be answered, when the site plan comes from a licensed engineer. Does that answer your question?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I just didn't know if VDOT had made an official, yes, this is good, or no, this is not good.
No, like I said, they are recommending to us, we'll say, hey, look, this is what the applicants bought us. What do you think this is a good plan for moving forward? When they come with the site plan, we'll have an engineer design the entrance based on anticipated traffic counts, and you can give us a review and kind of go back and forth. I would anticipate, again, it's going to be a commercial entrance, and I would imagine a right turn lane to some extent, but how long that would be will be determined by the engineer, and we'll have VDOT review it. But again, I can anticipate that if it's approved, like with this density, that some type of turn lane will probably be recommended by the engineer.
May I comment on that, please?
Sure.
On the VDOT. So I did forward an email from VDOT that basically states that it will require a commercial entrance, and based on the statistics, it will not require turn lanes. And I do have a copy of the email, and I did add it I did forward it to the Planning Commission. They said they will, based on the statistics, based on the site distance, they will not need turn lanes on this road, but yes, they will need a commercial entrance.
Yeah, I know he's met VDOT out there, and they've been in contact with them. So,
Okay. Any other question for Mr. Helmy? Thank you, sir.
I've got a couple more questions that I'd like to address to Ligon and to Sean, County Attorney.
Are these questions appropriate before or after public comment?
I can do it either way.
I defer to Mr. Carpenter on that. I don't know what the nature of the questions is. That's the only reason I'm asking.
If you'd prefer, I wait until after.
I have no preference.
Very short question. First to you, Ligon. I'm referring, and I know you have thought about a provision in the zoning ordinance, Article 14-4-2B, which reads as follows: the use, i.e. the special use, shall not tend to change the character and established pattern of development in the area in which it wishes to locate. And last week, in a statement that you posted on the county website, you said that you acknowledged that the change in character, you acknowledged the change in character of this area that would be caused by this proposal. And tonight you said it would represent a major change in the area. Um, if the board were to agree with you in those two assessments, would it not be precluded from granting the application?
That's why I think we've gone through and made 20 conditions and been very thorough. I mean, whatever the vote may be, I see those, and I've talked to people in the public. I mean, I see those as kind of aspirational in nature. We're trying our best. I mean, I don't think, there's any question this is approved, that it would change the area. Does that mean we can't consider it and put some conditions together? No, I don't think it means that. I think it's still within the discretion of the board to consider if the conditions are mitigated those concerns. So I don't see that as, well, this says this in the zone ordinance. So, if that was a concern, maybe we shouldn't have added event venue in the special use permit to begin with, because any sort of event venue or camping type facility is going to be a change, even something fairly small. And this is obviously larger. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I don't think it precludes you from deciding on this and making your best judgment based on what's been presented.
Sean, can you comment on my question?
Sure. Remember the language of 14-4-2, and I have always understood that the operative language is where it says when in its judgment, referring to the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors, such special use permit application complies with those standards. In other words, the Planning Commission and then the Board of Supervisors are the ones who make that determination. And we all know that planning and zoning, together with the rest of our code, in many ways has to be read as a whole document. One of the issues is, what does the county want? What does the comprehensive plan say? The comprehensive plan makes reference to promoting tourism and preserving the natural beauty. One of the ways you do that is to create revenue sources for these types of things. Your responsibility, and then the Board of Supervisors' responsibility, is to draw that balance. It is a legislative act. I defy anybody in this room to say that everything that has ever come out of Congress has been has made sense to them. Congratulations, y'all are our local Congress.
Any other question? All right, let's open it up for public comment then. And in view of the large number of people here, I would ask to limit your time as much as you can, preferably 3 minutes. Also identify yourself for the record. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Michael Parker. I have lived in Oak Park for nearly 30 years now. There are some old timers who think that I'm a newcomer still, but I live about one parcel as the crow flies away from this proposed site. I travel over Ford Shop Road 15 or 20 times a week, pass right past this site. I traveled past it on my way here this evening. And first thing I heard about this, I must be living in a cave, because I first heard about this about 2 weeks ago. I got a letter in my post office box at Oak Park saying, greetings, neighbor. We're considering shoehorning a commercial tourist attraction into your neighborhood. And that shocked me enough that I did what lawyers do when they're faced with a prospect that the legislature might do something crazy. I actually downloaded and read the zoning ordinance. And I'd never done that before. I had some past familiarity with the subject. Me at the zoning ordinance. And mind you, I didn't write it. You folks did, or your predecessors did. The authority, and I always look to see, what's the enabling authority? Where does it come from? Well, it doesn't come from the comprehensive plan. The controlling document that you need to be looking at is the zoning ordinance, except to the extent that the comprehensive plan is incorporated by reference into the zoning ordinance. Except for that, the zoning ordinance rules. It is dominant, and it tells you not only what you can do, but it tells you what you can't do. And as I looked at it, I came to the last work session. It was the first time I was aware of it. I came to the work session, a couple of Wednesdays ago. And I couldn't stay for the whole thing. But for 2 hours, I listened to a bunch of crossing of T's and dotting of I's of conditions. And when I had to leave, there was a controversy going on about what you call an off-road vehicle that was used to ferry these yuppies around on the site. And I said, my God, what are these people thinking? Anyway, I went home and I started studying the zoning ordinance. And what I found was that your authority to issue a special use permit comes from Article 14-4. And basically what it says, and I think you've all got a copy of it. I sent Ligon a set to include in the packet. But basically it says that special use permits must comply with the terms of this zoning ordinance. That's mandatory. That is not aspirational. That's a limit. That's a limit on this group's authority. Now, next, what are the terms of the zoning ordinance? Well, the relevant ones. There's many relevant, but the ones you get to first are 14-4-2, in which the commission has the authority, it's been given the authority in its judgment and has discretion in this matter. When in its judgment, such special use permit application complies with the following standards. Now, whether it complies or not with the standard, that's within your discretion. But what's not within your discretion is the fact that you've got to decide it. You've got to make a judgment on it. That's up to you. And you don't, it's right there in front of you. And then what are the standards? Look at the standards. There's 8 of them, A through H of 14-4-2. And when you look at those, you see those are predominantly in the negative. They're stated as thou shalt nots. There are things you are mandated not to do. And it's rather analogous to the Hippocratic oath of a doctor. First, do no harm. Whatever you're going to do, you want to chase billion-dollar investments as portrayed by Forbes. Fine, wonderful. But first, do no harm. And there's, as I say, there's 8 of these. I don't think the 8th one applies because I don't see that their public facilities of Madison County are involved in it at all. But all the others, A through G, and you've got, I think, an auditorium here full of people who will pick at the others. I'm going to just confine myself to 2 of them, B and G. And B, Mr. Work has already pointed out, says that the use shall not tend to change the character and established pattern of development of the area in which it wishes to locate, which raises the next question. What is the character and established pattern of development right there? And the answer is that it is a, commercially speaking, it's a virgin piece of rural land. It consists largely of large tracts, farms, forests, pastures, woodland. I myself live on a 600-acre tract. There are larger tracts all around me. Most of them have houses on them because their owners chose to live there, as I did. With one very minor exception, we are very, very thinly populated there. I've got neighbors that live within cannon shot who I've never even met, and they like it that way. We enjoy our privacy. You could put a pin in the middle of that map, draw a 5-mile circle around it, and you would not find another commercial establishment. There isn't any. It is commercially virgin land, and it's all privately owned. Now, a project like this might make sense if it were butted up against Skyline Drive or a national park or a state forest or something of that kind. But this is surrounded on all sides by private land. And it is shoehorned in the middle of an area that basically consists of 2 long, large slopes sliding down into the Robinson River. That's what it is. And these people willing to spend a small fortune to spend the night in a tent, when they roll out of their bunk in the next morning, where are they going to go? Presumably they have come here to enjoy the wilderness and the wonders of our natural beauty here. But by the time you put a parking lot for 100 vehicles and all the septic fields and the roads, and good luck to people who want to put a bulldozer blade in the ground and carve out a road, they're in for a surprise. I can tell you this, the rock is not very far down. And this is not, these people have no place to go. They're going to have to get back in their SUVs and drive half an hour to get to the national park, to where they can wander and explore. Because if they go wandering and exploring very far off of this, they're going to be trespassing. And in my neighborhood, the trespassers are escorted off with rock salt and number 12 birdshot. So this is not quite what it seems to be. I mean, I am not dazzled by the economic glitter here. These glamping things. I've been to one out in British Columbia, out on Vancouver Island. They love it out there because they've got square miles after miles of publicly held land where you can wander around and go to the seashore and walk on the beach and do all kinds of things. That's not the situation here. Now, I don't mean to go off too far. If you think I've gone long enough, you can stop me. But
Yes, I think maybe we're a little over 3 minutes. Thank you.
all right, we're a little over 2 minutes. Let me conclude this way. This is the wrong project in the wrong place in the wrong state of our development. If you are unhappy with the subdivision, the raw language of the zoning ordinance, you better think about either amending the ordinance or rezoning some properties where the use will be more appropriate. Thank you kindly for your time.
Thank you, sir.
John Letty, resident of Leon since 1987. First time at a public hearing, so bear with me. Is this limited to comments only, or may I?
Yes,
I'll be
comments.
short,
Yes.
but may I ask a couple of questions?
No, comments only.
Well, my comments are that I'm confused by the description because it says an event venue that eliminates large-scale outdoor events. So I'm not certain the nature of the events, but where I live is on Leon Road. I'm curious whether traffic will be coming primarily from Charlottesville up 29, Leon Road down to this location, or from Culpeper down Route 15, Oak Park Road to this location. If in fact the venue is granted a liquor license, I'm quite concerned about not only the people that are staying there, I'm less concerned about them than I am the surrounding community coming to a restaurant that has a liquor license and then leaving after hours. Love to have some answers to my questions, but I don't have any. I'm going to make one comment, and y'all are going to kick me out for this. I know you are, so I'll escort myself out. But shame on you, sir, for your comment about your lack of confidence in public schools. Shame on you. I found that absolutely disgraceful. I'm curious whether or not you would have exhibited as much support for an Islamic school as you did a Christian school. I really think that it's inappropriate for you in this position to say that our public schools are failing. If you think they are, it's in your responsibility to do something about it.
We're all entitled to an opinion.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment, please? Yes.
My name is Scott Sakovich. I live just a little ways up from that picture. I moved from Fairfax County a while ago. I've lived in Madison County over 10 years now. I moved to this street because of the beauty, because of the peace, because of the silence. I'm here tonight because I know that is going to change all of that. My question isn't whether he should be allowed to build a glamping site in Madison, but one reoccurring theme I keep hearing is this just does not fit here, this very location. Now, I bugged Ligon through email. I was quite rude, and I do apologize. I did not. It's just the emotion that's coming up from this. But to think with a lot of what I've been hearing, it's not assumption. The hope is to have economic stability coming in. But it is an assumption to make by what we think we're going to bring in. There's no promise we're going to yield that much money coming into Madison County, especially that soon. That would be way too soon, and especially at a time where inflation is so high. Even people with the money are still going to be tightening up those wallets. I've already had to transition jobs because of the way inflation has tightened up those dollars. And I worked at a fairly nice place where that was commonplace for people with money to come. So I don't believe we're going to see the economic growth that quickly. And I don't think it's going to happen there. I do agree that people are going to want to roam. They're going to want that entertainment. The other major concern I have is that road. That is probably the biggest gripe I made with Ligon when I sent him an email. That is not a commercial road. That's an unmarked road. It's going to need a commercial entrance, which means it's going to have a vast amount of construction that's going to be required down that road. It will increase volume. It will increase the hazards that was mentioned with the drunk driving. Possibly. There were accidents that were indicated that were partway with deer. There's so many wildlife situations out there that this glamping site will face. There's so many things. I could sit here and list hundreds of reasons why I don't feel like this fits 100% in this area. But I will tell you that I know for certain this will change that view. It will change my love for where I live. And that does go against what you have in your hands as far as what you have to make your decision based on. I'm sure everyone in this room agrees with that. Not that he shouldn't be allowed to have it in Madison County, but just that this doesn't seem to be the best fit. A huge business like this right in the middle of a residential area. Now I can keep talking and talking, but I think I would just be wasting my breath. I do agree with Mr. Work that there are assumptions, there are concerns. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Not too much of a speaker. I'm Tom Miller. I'm the southeast owner from that property line. My property butts all the way up against. I already sent in my concerns, excuse me, to Mr. Webb when we had a meeting last April with Mr. Howmey about this. And I've had a couple extra concerns now, seeing this map and seeing everything that's going on. We were told in April by him that there would be no outside events like that. Well, I see up there now, my daughter went to the last meeting, which was a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or something like that. The nice cute little circle up there for a future outside pavilion for outside events. Well, we were already told there's not going to be any outside events. So I have to start wondering then, well, what else are they going to change? She said the last thing, I wasn't here, but she said the last meeting you had was just everything you broached him with, like that. It was almost like a song and dance routine that he had to come up with something else like that, which made sense and stuff like that. But it didn't go along with what we were told back in April when we were having a nice friendly meeting about what this whole area was going to do. So I just can't, one of my main concerns with that is, one thing that I was worried about is, right, little levity, my family came over on the Mayflower. I've only been here since '88, so I'm definitely a newcomer compared to a lot of you people here. And I absolutely, Waller Jenkins got me down here. I mean, I worked for him, this place, the people, everything is just absolutely amazing. But my big thing was that with my acreage, I can hunt. I have a little area down by the river, about 100 feet long, 100 yards long for shooting, like that. And I was told, I asked, I said, now, is this going to be like Dulles Airport, where you build out in the middle of nowhere, nobody's there, 30, 40, 50 years later, people start building around it and start complaining about the noise of the things. They shut down the airport at 10 o'clock because it makes too much noise for all the people living there. Well, are they going to come after me and say, no, you can't shoot anymore? Now, granted, I don't shoot at 10 o'clock at night. I don't hunt raccoons or anything like that. But is they going to come back later on and say, no, you can't shoot anymore because you're disturbing these people? And that kind of, so I'm just saying, we were told one thing in April. They're changing as they go along with this whole thing. And the other thing is that when I rebuilt an old farmhouse, and I was told when we put in a septic system that you must have two 100-foot, 4-inch lines for every bedroom. Now, I honestly don't know. That was back in '88. So I don't know what has changed, anything like that. And I'm sure the health department will check on that too and stuff like that. But that's 70 units, 70 tents. That was another thing too. We were told it was tents only. Now it's suddenly tents and buildings. We're going to go with it. But that's 70 units. Doesn't even count the main place or the 35, year-round people that do the helpers and stuff like that. But that's 70 units. So they're going to have 70 times 2 times 100 for their septic systems. They're going out. I'm sorry, that just doesn't seem like too much to me. And the last thing is kind of a question, kind of a statement, is I just had a few years back, Tommy Ford rents my place. I had an electric fence put around it, which runs down that whole almost that whole southeast side, like that. And there's no sign on it. There's no nothing. Everybody around here has enough sense. You see a wire fence, you don't touch it. And I'm just wondering, I know you can laugh. I laughed at first too, and I thought about it until you look at the McDonald's with the hot coffee and all the rest of them. I said, do I have to hang signs on there now on the thing that says warning electric fence? Or do I have to be like REC or Pepco or any of the other ones who have to put up a 10-foot high fence with barbed wire to make sure that nobody comes down there and says, oh, I wonder what this feels like. That's the only thing I'm saying. It just seems like there's a lot of stuff was said back in April. A lot of stuff has changed like that. And I'm just, that's all I got.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Stephen Philippi. Thank you for letting me comment. Now, my wife and I have been here just 2 years, and we have the property just to the north of this. And for some reason, 2 to 3 weeks ago was the first I ever heard about this. I got no notice in the mail back in March when this was brought up the first time. So I'm coming up from behind here. But we are adamantly opposed to this special use permit, and I'm not going to bother going over all the reasons because they're already laid out in the packets, in the letters that you have in the packet from Mr. Parker, Mr. Miller, and the Goodall family who has the property across the river from this, and the Piedmont Environmental Council who thinks this is going to be a problem. Another thing I thought of now was you talked about traffic with the number of trips in and out a day. It's not going to be people coming in the morning, people leaving in the evening, or vice versa. They're going to be in and out all day going to whatever attractions. So it's going to be a lot more traffic in and out all the time than just once or twice a day. I also believe the venue is out of place and it will have a negative impact on property values, especially mine and Mr. Miller's that are adjoining the property. And like I say, I don't think I'm going to need to go over everything else because it's already in your packets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Steve Miller. I live, if the map was extended, I live right up the hill. I have a direct line of sight to that bottom corner of tents or cabins, whatever they are. I've lived here since '88, like my father. The biggest thing is that the roads going through there, I have an 8-year-old daughter. She rides her bike. We live on Meander Run Road. And there, just the amount of traffic from the dog business that's literally right next door to me now, from people coming from Northern Virginia that have, they don't pay attention to the roads. They don't pay attention to speed limits. They don't pay attention to anything, not to mention the width of the roads. That if she's riding her bike, I mean, am I constantly having to protect her and walk out there and make sure she's constantly, staying on the side of the road? I mean, she is relatively responsible, as an 8-year-old is, but it's a safety hazard on that point. And there's other kids down in the neighborhood area where where Scott had come up that are also taking walks with their families and such. And I know how the local residents in Madison drive on that road, which is not the smartest. But people from out of town, they just don't understand. I mean, there's a sharp curve right by the end of my road that several accidents have happened because people don't judge, even though there's arrows saying it's a sharp curve. So the safety hazard of people driving on these roads, not to mention coming here tonight, I was driving past that way because I had to get down that way. And there's a tractor coming up the hill. I'm hugging the side of the road. Luckily, the tractor can get on the side. Yes. I mean, Ford Shop Road is, and most of the roads in the county, unfortunately, I've lived here since I was 11. So I know most of the roads are small, they're narrow. I know how to maneuver around them. People who are not from this area, who are coming down to spend this ungodly amount of money to spend the night in a tent, they're not going to know the roads. And so it's not only just a hazard to the fact of the animals and stuff like that. Just the other day on Beantown Road, looks like someone got run off the road because there was mud and everything else from the ditch that had been splashed up in there because it's so narrow. Not to mention the delivery trucks are going to have to somehow get in with the non-turning lane into this clubhouse that they're going to build. I mean, I used to work for Merchants Grocery as well, so I know the size of the trucks, and even if it's a small truck, getting a box truck the size that it's going to need to be to get into that area is not going to be easy. So the distinction of it's not going to need a turning lane or anything like that, I'm not sure what they're thinking, because that road is super narrow. I mean, I would be lucky if it is 16 feet across, as we talked about earlier with the other roads. It's really narrow, and it needs to be thought about that with the safety of people, their families being out and the amount of traffic it's going to pick up, whether at night they go out visiting wherever they're going to visit around that area. They're going to be coming back late at night, possibly. You're going to have a lot more issues, traffic-wise, accidents, everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Thank you. My name is Paul Goodall. I'm son of Colton Goodall, who in the 80s served on the Madison County Board. And before I make any comments, just a thank you to you folks for the effort and the time you put in to making some of these very difficult decisions. I had the opportunity, my brother and I, Joe, to talk to my dad before he passed away and ask him, what would you like the farm that you built to be in the future? And his reply was, I'd like it to continue to be a working farm. And we have worked hard to make that a reality. So we've been doing multiple stream exclusions and other environmental practices to help the farm qualify for an agricultural land easement. We're doing that to protect and enhance the environment. We're right across the river from the proposed glamping facility, and we have a strong view that the glamping facility will do the exact opposite. And we would encourage you to not approve that. One other comment to make, the Goodall family has written and submitted documentation to you. The Piedmont Environmental Council, which is the organization we're working with to establish the agricultural land easement, has also submitted written comments. And both of those are opposed to this, but both of those documents include a lot of recommendations for additional restrictions if you decide to move forward. So my hope is that you will review those and incorporate them as you see fit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Goodall, married to Paul, also part of the family that's just across the river from the farm. So I came here in support of our farm and not in favor of the development, but I'm also a geography professor at James Madison University. I've been teaching for 30 years. And one thing that I want you to think about is how the human population is changing so rapidly. In fact, as teachers, we can't keep up with the difference that we see today that we saw last semester. These people that are in college now are going to be out here in the economy in the very near future. And we can't even imagine how much they're going to change with what they want to do. But I don't know if glamping is going to be popular in 5 to 10 years or 20 years, whatever. So more research possibly into that. I will tell you that what I hear from my students most is what's called zero footprint camping. They don't want high resource use camping. And that's more of the trend that I see in the school. I'm not saying that glamping won't occur or won't be popular. I just think research into the economy of it would be a very good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Joe Santone, and I live west of Kriglersville. And I wasn't going to say anything till Ahmed said that the investment partnership was too complicated. A, tells me, A, he doesn't want to tell us, and B, we need to really turn it over and look at it. I've never seen a proposal of this type that didn't have a pro forma balance sheet and income statement, didn't have cash flow statements. So we couldn't determine whether this was a profitable gig or not. I can tell you my wife ain't staying in no tent, okay? But I would just encourage you, if we want to bring tourists, county's better off calling up and getting a couple hotel chains, building hotels, than investing in something like this. So, and also, Pete, just on this side, I'm with you. I've been at the school board meetings for the past year, and I'm a little disappointed. I've lived in the county for 17 years. Never heard such disrespect and hostility. And on behalf of your fellow citizens, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other public comment? Yes, ma'am. Please come up to the mic. Thank you. Identify yourself.
Yes, I've been living on Mandarin Run Road for 50 years. I'm almost at the fork.
Your name, please.
B. Corbin.
Thank you.
And I'm almost at the fork on Mandarin Run Road and Forest Shop Road. I just got this pamphlet Sunday. I'm notified about nothing. And it's like this has been in the works for months. And I'm sure nobody else in the subdivision knows about it. It's about, on both roads, it's about 30 residents. And this is going to be a noise audience there. It's going to be people walking up and down the road. It's going to be a mess.
Thank you, ma'am. Other public comment?
I'm still Mike Sharman from the Novum area of Madison. So what you're being asked to approve is the flip. It isn't owned by Mr. Helmy. You don't know who it's going to be owned by. You heard him say what they tend to. He said to a number of the questions that Mr. Work asked, we tend to do this, we tend to do that. So I just was looking up what other projects he had done. And obviously I haven't done, I just looked up after he said that. And you all had, I'm sure, looked up lots of this. But he had done the Top Weir Mesa, a feasibility study for a $20 million resort town. He did something for IGI, highest and best use study for a premium 400,000 square foot retail complex. The Madinat Nasir housing development, 50 million square foot mixed use land. A number of others, Barwa, New Cairo, or Ariscan Hotels and Development, Oregon study for El Ghana Resort. So he knows what is necessary to put together a development proposal, whether or not he owns it or somebody else will in the future. He knows what is necessary to get approval. So a long time ago, I got a GED when I was in the Army. And because I had an educational inferiority complex, I did a triple major out at Mary Washington, then law school, then a post-law school degree in international taxation. What I know is when somebody tells you something's too complicated, that means they don't want you to know it. I also know, even though I've got all those degrees, a number of you do too. Those of you who may not have as many degrees, I know a lot of you, and you're smarter than I am. You can figure out complicated structures. What you just need somebody to do is tell you what that is, tell you how much is this going to cost, tell you exactly not just a conceptual site plan, but the actual site plan. You're being asked to approve the ability for them to flip the paper approval you give them to make more money and then pass the problem on to somebody else in the future. So until you have concrete statements of concrete plans of people who actually own it, then there's really nothing for you to approve there's only things you can disapprove. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Yes, sir.
I'm Josh Clark. I'm a neighbor. I live on Fort Shop Road. I oppose the project as well. I've had a chance to get out and talk to some of my neighbors and some of the surrounding people in the community. I hear a big distrust or a dislike for it and a not wanting it in there, basically. It don't fit the location. There is no power or three-phase power anywhere close to there other than like Leon Road or out a stretch thoroughfare or something like that. So that just kind of goes to show that there's not business and that kind of thing in this area. It's more country, rural land. There are a lot of families on the road. There are going to be issues of that. Some of the event venues or some of the things that was mentioned for the guests to do is visit wineries, breweries, all of that. Well, that kind of comes back to you drinking and driving back there. I mean, if they're the only thing for them to do in the area is visit a winery, they're not going there just to socialize. They're going there to drink. So when they come back, you're going to have those issues as well. So just keep it in mind when you think about and vote on this. Please, all the neighbors and everything don't want this. Thanks.
Thank you. Other public comment?
My name is Anthony Clatterbuck. I've only been in Madison since 1957.
Just moved here.
My mother brought me here. I have some kind of more technical observations about the project. One of the things is the amount of effluent that they're going to generate. And at first, they had a package plant that would dump effluent, treated effluent into the river. And that was my concern at that time. That seems to be somewhat addressed in the most recent proposal. But with it addressed, it discusses a number of types of systems, alternative systems and conventional systems and different things, but a huge amount of effluent. That amount of effluent means you're going to draw that much water out of the aquifer to support that amount of discharge. So you're going to have to address that. You know, I'm a home builder, and I've noticed over the last 30 years that the water aquifer has been dropping. With that much water drawn at this location, while it won't affect the state aquifer or the county aquifer, I'm concerned about the neighbor's aquifer and what they get out of their well. You know, that's a concern. But really, to put this in perspective, I don't know how many of you in your home have more than 4 people. Okay, so I'm just going to use 4 people as an average. When there's each residence, as we call it, would have 4 people. And so if you use the number of people that are projected to be here during peak occupancy, that represents 56 residences on this piece of property in Madison County. And where else have you allowed 56 residents on this acreage in Madison County? That's my concern. I'm one piece of property down on the river. I've got a nice little private picnic area where we go and have campfires, and we have a little beach. Well, I'm sure I don't want to be greedy or anything like that, but I'm sure that would get very quickly shared by a lot of folks, and then I have to be concerned with trespassing and that kind of thing. But that's neither here nor there. My real concern is the environment and what we're doing in Madison here that is so different than everything else we've done everywhere else. That's my concern.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Thank you. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, it's not midnight yet. Go ahead.
Scott Sakovich again. To go with Mr. Clatterbuck's statement about the water, I did end up speaking a while back to our Virginia Aqua rep who comes and watches our well. And one of the comments he made was the concern eventually one day that will dry up. You put that many sites on with that many people, it will dry up a lot faster. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Virginia Hydak. I live off of Ford Shop Road. And I'm in agreement with Mr. Miller when he said that things have changed a lot since it was first presented to us. When it was first presented, the restaurant was going to be a gourmet restaurant where the people from Madison could go to. At the last meeting, well, we don't know if we'll be able to let the residents in, if there's not enough parking space, if there's not enough seats, and we're only going to serve pizza and hamburger. All right, I'm not going there just for pizza in Madison, but anyway, I think too much has changed. It seems like nothing is consistent with what he was saying. When we first had the meeting, he said he was not going to buy extra land, more land for the project. It was going to be the 70 campsites or 10 sites. Now he's buying an additional land. So I just have a problem with all the, he's not consistent with what he's saying. And I really don't think this is the right project for Madison. Oh, and I was one of the people in here who hit the deer. Sorry.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? All right, thank you. All right, I guess we'll move to Pete.
Well, I want to say that I'm probably is wanting to see business come to Madison as much as anybody in the building. I think business is a great thing for Madison, but I got some real concerns about this project here. One of my concerns is where it's located. It's a short ways from this project to Orange. It's a short ways from this project out the back road to Culpeper. So how many people are going to come to Madison is one of the things I'm worried about. Are they going to Orange or going to Culpeper? I got a real concern about the sewage. It's like this gentleman said right here. I went out the day we went and walked that property, and I walked it, and there's rock everywhere. And I'm concerned where the sewer is going to work out there. I know he's got an engineer. There's a lot of systems that you can change and you can do things. But the rock out there to me is too close to the ground. I'm concerned about the density of it. I'm also concerned, he told us that tonight that local people are going to do that job and local money is going to be put into that site. Now, if he gets rid of that site and somebody else buys it, they might not have the same idea. They might want to bring their people from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, anywhere and build that site. There's a lot of things that just don't fit here. You heard him say that he's trying to put a real nice farm across the river into conservation easement. You're maintaining a really nice farm there. I'm not opposed to glamping. I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm opposed to glamping being in this spot. It don't fit, and I'm against it.
Any other comments from the Faye? You want to?
Yes. This is taking a great deal of courage for me to speak tonight. I know most all of your faces. I either know you one way or the other because I've been in the county since 1976, and our farm we've owned in this family farming it since 1892, purchased on the courthouse steps. So I know about land. I know about farms. I know about what it is to live in this county since I have since 1976, came here as a teacher. So what I'm going to say is not specifically about this case, but a couple of other things that we, in my opinion, are missing. I'm going to be on this board for another this commission for another year, and we'll get the comprehensive plan done during this. And a lot of things that we're going to be dealing with have to do with some of the things that have been brought up over the course of our conversation. And it's caused me to begin to think a lot more about where we're going and what we're doing and whether or not what we're doing in Madison County. Another thing that can change in an instant when you have to make a decision about your land is the death of someone. Instantly on a tractor, doing what he loved to do, but he wasn't even sick. So all of a sudden, in that instant, I was forced, this is a personal story, and I don't mind telling it, to reevaluate exactly where I was and what we were doing, plus family selling parts of our farm because it was left to 4 people. So I've had to face a lot of changes. Change is inevitable. I saw it throughout the 42-year career I had in teaching. Every single year you go in, you don't know what you're going to be faced with. It's a very difficult thing to be a teacher these days, and has been always, actually. My granddaughter's 1 now, and I kind of look forward in a bit of a frightful way about what she's going to be facing. She's keeping her head right now, and what she teaches is satisfying to her. But, it gets more tougher as we change. But change is inevitable, forced or not. I'll even bring up something more personal. I've made a personal decision. You all go by this spot every single day you go to Madison. And that's the spot across from McDonald's. You notice there's no house there anymore. You notice the chicken houses that my family used to run, my husband's family used to run years ago, are all gone. That was an eyesore. That's good. We couldn't afford to do it. We couldn't afford to keep the land. We couldn't afford to keep people in the house. The house was not rehabitable. So the 4 people decided we would sell. And it's on public record who bought it. And thank goodness it is a Madison County person. Every day I walk by there, I get a little heart drop because we all 4 had to make a horrible decision that we had to sell. And it's like my in-laws never lived there. There's nothing there, nothing. So I've been through a lot. You can survive it. You do survive it. My surrounding area has changed tremendously. I've got a couple of over the last 25, 30 years, well, we lived there since 76, but they've come in with, there've been a lot of subdivisions. Yes, I hear the dogs barking. Yes, I hear machines going on at all times of the day or night, but I get used to it. You just have to. I'm not saying that it's easy, and I'm not saying that I'm for or against anything right now, but I just want to point out that change happens. The other thing that I want to tell you and remind everyone is that land will be sold. The owners, present owners, have a right to sell their land. They, for various reasons, I don't know what they are. I mean, I kind of know, but I'm not going to say that publicly. Everybody comes up with a reason why, just like I had to do. They're going to sell the land. It's going to go for something. Is it going to go for an individual home? Or is it going to go for a housing division, subdivision, if they can get that in? Or is it going to go for some other commercial entity? We don't know. We haven't been presented with anything. So we need to think about it. If it's not the best, we're at the point where we need to start thinking about what is our prime agricultural land in our county. You just only have to drive up 230 toward Orange. If you haven't been there in a while, look at the driveways. I went by there yesterday. I was pointing out to a friend. There's a new house, new 3 houses back there. Some of them we've approved. Some of them they just are able to build. Change is happening. We've had more housing requests, building permits this year than we've ever had. It's growing. Last year was a big year. The last 5 years, we have changed tremendously. COVID changed so many things. It changed everybody's attitude. It made us reevaluate our lives. It made us reevaluate what's important to us. Change is going to happen. So if it's not this project, it's going to be another project. And what I think the county is going to need to do, where is our farmland? Is it useful? Is it going to be able for some farmer to actually make a living? And if you think you can make a living on farms, you could talk to my son. I could show you 45 years of Schedule Fs, which you file for a farm, and I can show you how much money you make. And then look out in the machine shed and you see where all the money went. Look at the fences, look at everything else. It's not easy. And any farmer that tries to farm is going to tell you. So change is going to happen. Our young people, we had that mentioned tonight, our young people are not going to be doing what my family, my ancestors, and my husband even was willing to do for the farm. It ain't going to happen. It is not going to happen. Let me tell you. So therefore, we have to look at what else, what is the alternative when people want to sell their land? I hate to tell you all, but I'm facing my own mortality. You all, are some of you closer than others. You're not going to be able to hold on to your acreage for X number of years. It's got to go somewhere. Lucky if you have a child, but you're going to be selling it. We have land, we have tracts of land being sold right now you don't even know about. 300 acres, 500 acres, 600 acres. It's bought by people out of our county. We've never seen them. Some of them buy this land unseen. Now, is that wrong? No. Can we stop it? No. Is it illegal? No. But it's change. So I think everything is emotional, especially when when we don't want it in our backyards. NIMBY, that is a phrase that planners use and land people. So therefore, what I just want to remind us all is what's going to happen to the land when it is sold? If it's not sold for something like this, then it's going to be another project or whatever. We need to think about that. Is it the kind of you think your land is priceless? Of course it is. It's very precious to you. Mine is too. 200 acres been whittled down to 65. That's where I am. So, it changes. And is it a viable farm anymore? We'll see. Ask my son in a couple more years. We need to preserve the land that is viable for farming or agriculture or any other related kind of thing that we want to see in this county. We love our county. We love the way it looks, and that's what I am all for. But we also must think about the future. And if we bring houses in here and subdivisions in here, which I'm not opposed, it's going to happen. We got to think about schools. We got to think about our infrastructure. We got to think about a whole lot of other things that we're going to be facing again with no money. So I'm not sure where we should go on a lot of this, but I know every time we have this kind of decision, any community, it's very hard to have to make the decision. So we just need to think about all these things and what are the alternatives if we don't. We just think ahead. I don't even know how I think right now, but except that I do know that's, and I've been wanting to say this, we really need to think broader, even though we don't like it, even though we hate having to think this way. And it's very hard. So we just need to think. And as we make our decision tonight, we'll have to decide that kind of thing. And my decision is going to be, if it doesn't get sold for the land, what do we sell? What will be sold? What will it be sold for? And talk about density. There are some places here we have just approved recently that have a huge density potential. And right now it's in farmland. And if you don't believe it, go down to the tax, go into Mr. Webb, talk to them, and you'll find out. So change is happening. And it wasn't easy to take from the people who found out kind of late, because we don't have the money we don't put up big signs, and we advertise in the paper and on our website. So I'm really sorry we've had to get to this emotional state about anything. And I hope we can all make it work out. And I hope that all of us will still be friends and fellow Madisonians and still support all the things we want to see from Madison County, including its public schools, which of course I'm a big fan of. But I also know that we need alternatives. So there you go on that. Anyway, thank you for listening. And I'm sorry I had to get a little bit emotional, but it's just been something I needed to say, because this is a project, this one and one other one, that we'll be addressing very soon. And you know where it is, in the west of our county. It's very emotional for us, especially those of us that live here and care so much about this county. Very emotional. Have to listen to you all, sympathize with you all, and still have to make a decision that perhaps may be better for the county in the long run. And I do trust, one other thing, I do trust our health department, EEQ, all these police, all these people that will be in charge of seeing that all these things are covered and built and developed. to the standard that we have established in this state, that we abide by with the county. I trust them. I trust that they'll make the right decision. Do I know how to put in a septic system? I know what mine looks like. I didn't do it, but they know how to do it. I don't know what the answer is. I have to trust. That's what I'm saying on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faye. Any other comment from Planning Commission?
Nobody else is, if everybody's done.
Okay.
So this has been something I've been generally in favor of most of the whole time it's been before the commission. I definitely appreciate all y'all's comments and perspectives. That's helped a lot, make things a little more complicated. 14-4-2 of the zoning ordinance, specifically B. This was specifically brought to my attention last week. And so I started looking at the "you shall not tend to change the character and established pattern of development of the area." And I kind of started thinking, what is the area? Does that mean the parcel plus the adjoining lots? Is that Madison County? I basically went with the Oak Park voting precinct. I live over on LA Road, born and raised. Moved away all the way to Wolftown and back to LA Road again. That was about it. So, I'm very familiar with the area. I've gone down there my whole life, but I did kind of look around in the area just to see what was going on. There is Meander Plantation is one thing that's sort of a similar use, 77 acres, 14 rooms, kind of a mix in-house and exterior kind of cabins, kind of double occupancy. Freedom Fields Farm is something kind of new down on Oak Park Road. They got 4 rooms, double occupancy, plus a bunch of horses on 37 acres. Madison Vines is just, I wasn't on here for that. That's a crazy thing to me. But, there's just so many benefits to this project as far as opportunities it can create for small businesses in Madison. And that's something that has always struggled. When you have a county, you either have citizens that are buying things and demanding resources, or you have tourism. And tourism is my favorite source of county revenue. Not only does it benefit the county, it benefits small businesses. These businesses are typically owned by people who live in Madison. My main concerns about the project have been water supply, sanitation, site safety, and traffic. I think the roads are pretty typical for Madison County. I've driven down them a bunch of times. I've driven them fast. I've driven them slow. I think the roads are underutilized, or underdriven anyway. I'm still largely in favor of it. I think the people that are going to be renting this, if it does get approved by the board, are going to feel a lot safer with people close to them and not being spread out anyway. So the density of it's not so much of an issue, but it is a lot. If it was just me, I would say, I don't know why, for some reason 58 units on 58 acres makes sense to me. That's all I got, guys.
Thank you. Any other comment from Mike? Yes.
So I would like to kind of piggyback on what Faye and what Nathan has said. And one of the things that when I go back to number B of 14.4.2 is changing the character and the developmental pattern of a piece of property or an area. And that area, I'm going to say that if we do this, if we don't do this here, we're going to say, okay, well, it needs to be somewhere else in the county. Where's that going to be? Because I don't know where in the county we're going to put something like this or anywhere else that it doesn't, where there is a developmental pattern already in place that we could say that is not going to change that.
Um, I like camping. I like RVing. I think that goes along with glamping. I think it's a nice way to get people out and enjoy this nice county that we have. I think it would be a nice environmental impact to the county. Uh, and for those reasons, I would be in favor of this. But because I think really if we try to put it somewhere else, we're going to be the same issue. And where are we ever going to put anything anymore?
Okay. Any other comment? Yes, Francois.
I have an issue with from the beginning. I don't need to.
We want to hear you.
I'm not a tennis guy. So since the beginning, I've had issues with the density, and what Mr. Klatterberg said brought it home. 56, and if they were residences, we would have to multiply that by 3 acres. So 56 times 3 is 168, if I can still count. And this is not 168 acres. So
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the, yeah, the committee will be,
Folks, we still
Please.
have a meeting going on. Would y'all mind keeping it down?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so those of us who are on the comprehensive plan review committee will be meeting at 5:30 Thursday, November 10th in the auditorium here.
Yeah, and I'll get an agenda out early next week. It'll be put online as well.
You, you volunteer, Faye, Francois, and then there's several, and
Peter and Mike.
and several other members of the public. Okay, any other items from the Planning Commission? Any other items from the public? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the Planning Commission? Moved, any second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
You never asked if anyone was opposed to adjournment before.
I was being ironic.
You guys still back there?
Wake up now.
I'm waiting. Signature here. Oh, yeah, got that off.
Before I forget. Well, I'm a little surprised. It's not till 9:30. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors portion of this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anybody have any additions to the agenda this evening? Anybody? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, we do generic public comment. We're going to go through the same procedure that the Planning Commission just did. Is there any generic public comment? All right. Moving on, case number S-11-22-28. Mr. Eldon Yoder has applied to subdivide an existing 10-acre agricultural zoned parcel. The subdivision would create 2 new parcels and 1 residue parcel. The new parcel would be 3.1 acres and 3.3 acres, and the residue parcel would be 3.5 acres. The subject parcel has not been divided in the previous 10 years. The future subdivision rights of each parcel would be exhausted. The subject 10-acre parcel does not contain a postal address, but is located on Twyman's Mill Road, Route 705, Madison, Virginia. The parcel is identified on Madison County's tax map as 51-21. Ligon, anything to add?
No, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Webb?
No, sir.
To the applicant, Mr. Yoder, anything to add? Questions for the applicant? All right, to the public. To the public. All right, back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve case number S-11-22-28 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Case number S-11-22-29. Mr. Joseph Kinchlow has applied to subdivide an existing 13.5 acre A1 agriculture zone parcel. The subject would create 3 new parcels and 1 residue parcel. The new parcel would be 3.3 acres, 3.2 acres, and 3 acres, and the residue parcel would be 3.8 acres. The subject parcel has not been subdivided in the previous 10 years, and future subdivision rights on each parcel would be exhausted. The subject 13.5 acre parcel does not contain a postal address, but is located on Arrington Mountain Road, Route 606, Haywood, Virginia. The parcel is identified on Madison County's tax map as 23-64. Ligon?
No, sir. Nothing else to
I
add.
got one question for Ligon.
Please.
So did understand that we don't have VDH approval yet,
Yeah,
but it's coming.
Emily
Is that
said she should have it Friday.
right? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right. So me.
Other questions for Ligon? All right, to the applicant. Yeah, I think Joe left. Hopefully nobody has any questions for him. To the public. To the public. All right, back to the board. What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case number S-11-22-29 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Case number SU-11-22-30. Good Hope Baptist Church has applied to amend and expand an existing special use permit to operate an educational facility, private school, on a 3.9 acre A1 agricultural zone parcel. In the A1 zoning district, a private school is allowable by special use permit. In 2014, Good Hope Baptist Church received a special use permit to operate a daycare preschool from the church existing sanctuary building located on a parcel that adjoins the parcel subject to this amended special use permit request. If approved, the applicant is proposing to construct a school building containing roughly 12,000 square feet of floor area, upper and lower levels, with occasional use of the church fellowship reception hall. The new school maximum enrollment would not exceed 200 students. If this amended special use permit is approved, the existing Good Hope Baptist Church preschool with an enrollment of roughly 20 students would continue to operate on the adjoining parcel. The existing preschool's postal address is 2930 Beautiful Run Road, Route 621, Radiant, Virginia, and is identified on Madison County tax maps as 57-56. The underdeveloped parcel, which is subject of the amended special use permit request, does not contain a postal address, but is located on Beautiful Run Road directly to the north behind the Good Hope Baptist Church Sanctuary building and preschool. Further, this parcel is identified on Madison County tax map as 57-56A. Ligon, anything to add?
Just a note, we're also adding the gymnasium.
Yes, sir.
Just so the public knows that. And if the board is inclined to approve, I would just recommend any motion also include, just reference the 5 conditions that are in the packet.
Questions for Ligon on this application? Ms. Garth, anything to add? Any questions for Ms. Garth on this application? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Public.
Oh, excuse me, I apologize. To the public. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I think, I'm Anthony Clatterbrook. I think there's a important aspect to this, and that's that the parents, young parents today have the option to have a school environment that is based in their religion, whatever their religion may be, to keep their children from being exposed to some of the things forced to accept, and some of the curriculum that there's nothing that parents can do anything about. This is in a controlled environment in a way that a lot of the students that currently have to go out of the county for private schooling can't get. And this is a great benefit to us.
Thank you. Other public comments?
Mike Sharman. So there've been a number of comments of that perhaps if one's supporting a Christian school, that's being in opposition to public education. It's always helpful to look at our law too. So in the code section, the chapter on education, it has section 22.1208, and this is for public education. And the title of that code section is Emphasis on Moral Education. And it says, and this is the entire statute, and it says the entire scheme of instruction in the public schools shall emphasize moral education through lessons given by teachers and imparted by appropriate reading selections. So that's that entire part of that code. So as Mr. Sansone and a number of others have said, they've been going to the school board meetings regularly as I have. Mr. Jackson has, Mr. Dawson has, a number of the others have been there too. And you've been as astonished as I am that there have been a number of teachers and the librarian and parents who have come up and said they oppose the current proposal to exclude sexually explicit, as that is defined in the code, materials from the library and curriculum. So let me repeat that. Teachers, librarian, and quite a few parents came forward and said they wanted to have sexually explicit material in the schools. And that sexually explicit isn't so-and-so raped so-and-so. The code section that defines what that sexually explicit is actually taken from the one that says no public money can be used, no government employee can use sexually explicit materials or use computers or use any public money for doing it. And it has a specific description of what it is. It's fairly long and it's very graphic. That's the material that people are saying we should have in public education. Competition is a good thing. People being able to know what's going on is a good thing. As Mr. Cloudbuck just said, parents need to have a choice. We had a number of parents, as I mentioned, say they wanted sexually explicit material to be in the library and in curriculum for their children. To which school board member Charlie Sheed said, well, if you want the books, we've taken them from the library, you can have them. That was a very good idea. When parents can make the decisions for their children, whether they want the sexually explicit or whether they want to have Christian education. If they actually get the 200 students they want, that's telling the public school system, you need to actually go back at the code and see, you're supposed to be teaching moral education in every single class throughout the entire curriculum. And I didn't even cite the code sections that said you're also supposed to be teaching justice and mercy is actually in some of the descriptions of what they're supposed to be doing, and patriotism and an understanding of the Constitution and our Bill of Rights. That is not being emphasized. I'd encourage every one of you as well. Like I said, a number of the Board of Supervisors are regularly attending the school board meeting. I'd encourage every one of you to, because when you look up there and you see the scores that are coming in, they are failing. I mean, we aren't even close to the real failing mark, and that's passing a standardized test that actually failing is a pass score. We're not doing that. We're not coming close. So we have to have competition, and we have to have moral standards being presented. And if the Christian school is the only place that's going to be presented, then it's going to get a lot of students. So thank you.
All right, other public comment. Other public comment. All right, back to the board. What would y'all like to do?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve case number SU-11-22-30 as recommended by the Planning Commission, and a further note to include the recommended special use permits conditions, 5 of them that are in the packet this evening.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Case number SU-11-22-31. Mr. Ahmed Helmi has applied for a special use permit to operate an event venue on A1 agricultural zone parcels. In the A1 zoning district, an event venue use is allowable by special use permit and required to adhere to Article 14-18 through 14.18.4 of the zoning ordinance. The applicant is seeking a special use permit to allow an entire 38.6 acre parcel and roughly 20 acre portion of the adjoining parcel to be utilized for the following uses. Up to 70 individual short-term rental units consisting of a mixture of cabins and glamping units, a single structure containing a lodge, restaurant, and wellness center, maintenance, housekeeping buildings, a pavilion, and an employee housing buildings. The applicant has proffered a conceptual site layout and design and eliminate large-scale outdoor events as an allowable use. The 38.6 acre parcel does not have a postal address, but is located on Ford Shop Road, Route 618, roughly 1,325 feet from the intersection on Ford Shop Road and Beantown Road, Route 632. The adjoining 20-acre portion of the parcel has a postal address of 638 Ford Shop Road, Culpeper, Virginia. Ligon?
I don't have anything other to add. The only comment that, the other many comments, I thought Ms. Goodall, Dr. Goodall, the geographer made a good comment about, how this has really become a new trend, and it'd be interesting to see if the glamping and even the short-term rental market is something that maybe in 5 years is still as voracious as it is now. But otherwise, any questions for me about the application, be happy to answer.
Anyone have questions?
No.
All right. Mr. Helmy, anything to add this evening?
Yeah, if I may.
Yes, please.
So just to respond to a few public comments, just to clear things. Mr. Miller said that I promised in the beginning there will be no outside events, and it's in the conditions that there will be no day events or outdoor events other than ones for the guests. So I just want to clear this because, it is in the condition, it is something that I approved. Another member of the public mentioned that I'm changing my strategies because I'm buying more land. Well, I was buying more land to lower the density. So it's not that I'm shifting, trying to do things. I was trying to work with the planning commission to reach some middle ground. That's why I bought more land and invested more. Another member of the public said what I'm saying. It's a complex ownership structure trying to evade. I'm very clear. I said that until I get the special use permit, I cannot discuss it with investors because I don't know what I'm getting. So whether I'm a general partner or a limited partner, or I'm going to work as the lead developer or not, is subject to what I get. So I was being very transparent. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's so complex and therefore I'm not going to respond. I said, I don't know at this point what the ownership structure is going to be. So I was not trying to evade things. So I'm just trying to clear things related to my work ethics, and that is important. In terms of the decision of the Planning Commission, I'm just trying to understand. It has been a long 6-7 month process. Requests. We don't want to discharge in the river. I do hire soil consultants and invest time and money to clear the fact that there will be there. The soil consultants was approved by the Emily from Department of Health, and they said you can build this system here. So I got the experts and they verified. Regarding the water and the aquifer, there are specific scientific tests that would be requested by me through the health department. They're called yield tests. They measure the drawdown. We run the water for 72 hours to assess the impact of the aquifer. We've been working on this for 6 months, and we've been discussing conditions back and forth, which gave me given that we're discussing conditions and we're meeting somewhere in the middle, I'm just surprised that it was denied by the Planning Commission. There was no guidance. There was guidance towards some compromise, and I thought we did meet this. We met somewhere in the middle, but apparently I'm just confused about the process and how it works. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Any questions for Mr. Helmy now? All right. To the public. Yes, sir, please.
I'm sorry I've come up so many times. I was touched by something that Mr. Cohen and Mrs. Oates had said. And development is inevitable. It is going to happen. But the question is whether that's going to be profitable and if it fits that area. I'm almost certain it's not going to be as profitable as expected, not only because of the area, as many people have mentioned. People are going to want to roam. They're going to want to view the area. I would almost venture to say that you would be willing to put a residential area there, a community. You would probably bring in more money from property taxes from their vehicles, for their homes, than you might from this project. I do agree we need other businesses other things of development, and I am certain that Madison County will continue to grow. But I also know that we have other venues within the area that beautify the area, and they use other local businesses. They are not to a detriment to the local community where they are. I'm kind of concerned this is going to be one of those where it's a detriment. We can run tests all day, we can sit there and look at everything, but it does not take out the human error, the factor of error, and then also human behavior. So we've already mentioned that these dollars that he might be pulling in might be going to Orange County, might be going to Culpeper County. Then the damage will be caused in our area. That concerns me. Do I expect houses to be there? Do I expect other things to be down there? Of course I do. But I also expect them not to be an eyesore, and I'm concerned this would be an eyesore down there. That's all I got to say about that.
Your first name was Scott, wasn't
Scott.
it? What's your last name?
Sakovich.
Thank you. All right.
I'm Amy Goodall again. So what I heard tonight especially were two themes. One's the intensity of the use and the other is changing the character of the place. And when I think about the character of place, of course, it's a very special place, especially in terms of biodiversity, which is my specialty as a geographer. When I think about the many lights and the sounds and the construction, it will change the character of the place, of the types of things that campers typically want to view. So that's my point that I wanted to make.
Thank you. Other public comment? Other public comment? All right, to the board.
Mr. Chairman, just a few comments. I appreciate all the public input. I think that everything that needs to be said has been said. And the bottom line with this is that this facility does not belong in that location.
All right. Anybody else?
Well, oh yeah.
Yeah, I figured as much.
I would like to say that, I have sat in on all the planning commission workshops as well as the all the other meetings that we've had on this, and my impression of Mr. Helmy, he is very ethical. I appreciate that. The process on a special use permit such as this, is long for a reason. This body here and Ligon, I think, led the charge to make sure that we go through at least two workshops in order to derive a recommendation. Those recommendations went back and forth and back and forth. Mr. Helmy did, in fact, compromise and did accommodate, I feel, most all of the recommendations that the Planning Commission made during those workshops. So I've got to commend him for that. But over the last month or so, I love the plan. I don't like the location. So, my apologies. You have done yeoman's work on this, but I've driven down there a number of times to look at it and just try to visualize it. And I see your plan was beautiful. It's just not the right spot.
All right. Other comments?
I've been to the site twice. I've looked at the proposal. I don't even have that much of a problem of the location if it were less dense, I think. If maybe there were going to be 20 sites on it. But I cannot find anything that I think would really benefit Madison County on this. I think most of the people, like we said, would be traveling to other areas. I cannot vote for this at this time. I just don't think it's the right place.
All right. All right. I've got a couple. It is too dense. Um, Consistently, I think Ligon from the start has, even before the 20 acres, has said that it's too dense. You have been very transparent, Mr. Helmy. I think you have, other than your Panera comment, which I find far fetched on a $350 room. Development. This is part of the due diligence process. With development, as you well know, it's a high risk, high reward type of game. I do proposals all the time that never come to fruition. Just waste hours and hours and hours of time. And that's what it is. We've sat in these meetings. We've gone through a bunch of it, trying to hone and do due diligence both on our part for Madison County and trying to figure out if there is a place for this type of development that you've proposed. I've been kind of going through a kind of a moral dilemma as of recently. We've watched multiple different business proposals come to Madison County. The majority of people that have interviewed for the Planning Commission talk about diversifying the tax base, employment, anything that is good for Madison County and theoretically is so easy to talk about. And every business proposal that comes to Madison, we hear very, very similar arguments over and over again. Noise, traffic, people are going to take their money elsewhere. Every proposal, it's the same comments, from big to small. And this isn't just one or two times. I mean, this is over and over again. I've got another email today about this, on a completely different proposal. At some point, we're going to have to figure out what we want to do as Madison County citizens. And I'm not talking just development, but it's kind of, we all can say, oh, it's easier. There's other locations on 29 but those people don't want them on 29 either. That's just what it is. I don't know what the answer is. I've been asking tons of people lately, what is the answer to this problem? Because we all want different services and businesses and don't want to pay as much on taxes. This one I just don't think fits in this location. I appreciate what you've done, Mr. Helmy, and everybody that's worked on it hours and hours. But this one's just isn't coming to fruition. What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, to answer, to throw out some comp plan input would be a big help in what you just expressed about where we need to go.
That's a problem. So, yes, sir. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move to reject case number SU 11-22-31.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion?
Just one point. This is semantics. I mean, I went to plenty of English classes. I didn't pay a lot of attention, but I think the appropriate verb might be deny.
Do you amend?
I move, Mr. Chairman, that we deny case number SU-11-22-31.
Second.
All right. Motion's made, amended, and then seconded again. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, I got one thing real
Please.
quick, just for the public's knowledge. Mr. Parker and I had a good. When I hung out the phone, it was 48 minutes the other night, which I think was about the same length of time of the night. But I take exception to your saying now that you don't. There's no response here. I take some exception to you talking about all the ordinances are written by you guys. Every ordinance that's ever gone in the county's records has gone through a public hearing. So, yes, we may author something and we have public hearings on it, and only after all of that does it go into county ordinances. I just wanted to, we had a good banter the other night. I just want to get my lick back in. So,
If you were going to ask a question, I was here. to
yeah,
answer.
right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
We do have one more thing at least. We have citizens appointees to the Comprehensive Plan Committee. We've approved the membership of, I think, 4 members from the Planning Commission at this point. We do have a list of 5 applicants here. It's Alan Nichols, Mike Fisher, Peter Rice, Misha Jones, and Anthony Clatterbuck to add to this advisory committee. Anything else that I'm missing on this? Y'all are doing a kickoff meeting next week. I know we've communicated with all of these individuals. Anything to add?
Yeah, I'll post the agendas online. Public is welcome to attend. We'll try to have them in here. I really think that I don't want to meet maybe every month, every 6 weeks, 7, 8 meetings over the course of maybe 10 months, and trying to, when we have the meetings, we'll bring really specific stuff to get get input, and then all will sort of gear toward heading to our large input session at the fire hall at some time.
All right. And I'm
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If I may just add, as we're going through this process, because I heard this discussion with Planning Commission and maybe at least some board members, just recommending to staff, or as you go through it, if there's a way that you want to receive the information. So we realize that this committee will bring it to the Planning Commission to the board. If you want that in segments, just as we go through this, if there's a preference, just please direct staff and we will get that information so you all are collectively getting it the way that you choose to receive it.
Thank you. I'm gonna throw a kink in this one too. I was thinking about this earlier. Cardi and I both serve as liaisons to the Planning Commission. Do y'all mind if we add on to this group? The 2 of us? You mind?
No.
Thank you.
Very well.
What would y'all like to do on this group of 5?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we add Alan Nichols, Mike Fisher, Peter Rice, Misha Jones, and Anthony Clatterbuck to the Comprehensive Plan
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Committee.
There you go.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, public comment. Public comment. Are there people online? No comments though. All right, there you go. All right, no information other than anything else. What else y'all want to do?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Yoder.
My heart was my comments and where I wanted it. I sang over here.